Good game.
Shadowrun holds a lot of nostalgia with gamers, from tabletop to 16-bit, and the SNES game was particularly good. It threw orcs and elves and dwarves into a Blade Runner cyberpunk world. For its time, it had a unique dynamic action RPG flavour to it. The music was also very memorable. Now it's time to run on the fringe of society once more with the much anticipated crowd-funded sequel, Shadowrun Returns.
Your friend Sam Watts is dead, but he still manages to send you a message and a job. There's a villain on the loose known as the Ripper who is surgically removing body parts from victims. It's a good setup, but really only worth it if you take the time to read all the dialogue. And the writing is quite good, isn't it, Barjo?
Yeah, it is. And you're right, you really do need to pay attention because it's such a deep story filled with interesting characters. I didn't actually think I would get into the story so much, and in fairness, there are a few sections which are a bit convoluted and made me go the skip, but there was more than enough story here to pull me along. This game does assume that you've played games like it before though. Even coming from similar games such as XCOM, players will still struggle with the awkward interface and lack of an intuitive in-game tutorial.
Yeah, there are just a few simple things in menus that continuously halt the experience. Clicking through dialogue or trying to work out how to load a previous save, for example. I mean, there's so much room on the screen, there's no reason to have to go into all those fiddly submenus.
Yeah, some more shortcuts would have been nice, but the good news is, this game is really fun once you're past all that. After you start exploring new abilities, recruiting runners to go on missions with you, and learning how the combat works, the game opens up much more. And then you start to really enjoy the fights and appreciate how they complement the narrative.
I think my favourite part of this game is just the variety of classes and even the ability to kind of craft your own hybrid and experiment with that. And how you craft your character can help you out in certain dialogue choices and tactical situations. If I was being greedy, I'd say I wish there was even more of that sort of stuff in the game.
Yeah, me too. I did enjoy summoning the crazy elementals during battle, such as this guy, who's got a face for a butt. It's a bit hard to see from this angle, but it's definitely there. And there's plenty of strategies to employ with all of the various abilities, and I think there's a lot there for gamers to get into. The art in this game is beautiful, to the point where I want to print out screenshots and stick them up next to my computer on the wall. But a lot of it is so wasted. There's so many alleys you can't go down and stuff you can't interact with, so it's kind of like they've got a 2D piece of art and then just drawn a line of game design through it.
Yeah, but this is a small downloadable game, and I think they've nailed that Blade Runner vibe perfectly. I liked how it transitions from action to RPG as you move around the levels. There's plenty of ambushes to keep you on your toes. Sometimes they can go horribly wrong though. You can also use enemies against each other, which mixes up the fights a bit too.
I think the class you pick or the class you craft is really important to how much fun you have in this game. I didn't have much fun with my mage. I found the mage really squishy, and often I'd get ambushed and killed straight away, losing heaps of progress. I thought the effects were a bit lame for the mage as well, just a few tiny sparkles and explosions, and I just wanted all of the combat to look more spectacular. I do feel like I'm being a bit negative on this game, and I do like that the stakes are quite high, that there is a fair punishment for death, but really the best is yet to come with Shadowrun Returns.
Yes, the game comes with its own level editor, which means there's already a whole bunch of user-generated content. The nostalgia associated with this franchise means that we'll likely see some great stuff come out of the community. I mean, already I see someone is remaking the SNES version.
I found it easy in the end to forgive most of this game's flaws for some decent turn-based combat. I had such a warm feeling playing this game because it's a narrative-driven turn-based RPG, and I feel like that's a lost genre that isn't shown enough love anymore. I feel like games like this never quite have enough of a budget or production values to both be accessible to everyone, but also deep enough to satisfy fans of the genre. There just aren't enough games out there like this, and certainly none that have a story as good as this one. But at the end of the day, Hex, I just was so frustrated by that interface and a few little bugs I encountered that I just didn't have a good time with this game, and I really wanted to, but I didn't, so I'm gonna give this 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Personally, I really liked how you need to really make use of your team to get the job done. You know, buffing each other, watching each other's backs, and those on-the-fly strategies that present themselves are just really fun to experiment with. I think this mesh of lore is really hard to get right, but you can tell they've thought about it. There is a lot of love in this game, so I think it's worth a 7.5.
And now it's time for a lesson in lore with Dave.